People say childhood memories play tricks on you, that we weave our fears of the dark into ghost stories to make sense of the mundane. But I know this much: some things never leave. They are not tricks of the light or figments of an overactive imagination. They are stains, impressions, left on reality itself, and they just wait. We move away, we grow up, we build new lives in brightly lit homes. We try to forget, but the sound of dry, splintered fingernails scraping across wooden floorboards, that specific, grating sound, follows you for a lifetime. It's the sound that jolts you awake in the dead of night, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs, only for you to lie there, paralyzed, and realize it's just a tree branch tapping a Morse code against the window pane. You try to cling to that rational explanation, to swallow the lump of terror in your throat. But deep down, in the most primal part of your brain, you know it wasn't the tree. It was never the tree. This is the story of the old house on Hemlock Street. It's not a campfire tale about a vague, friendly ghost. This is a story about something with a cold, patient intent. Something that didn't just haunt the walls. It haunted us. It wanted us, especially my sister and me, to know it was there. It wanted to be seen. I was 9 years old the year we moved in. My family, just my mother, my 5-year-old sister Lily, and I, was a small unit, still finding its shape after my father's quiet departure. The house on Hemlock Street was a bargain, a 2-story colonial with peeling white paint and a wide, welcoming porch that belied the darkness within. The town itself was a postcard of tranquility, a place where doors were left unlocked, and the biggest scandal was old Mr. Henderson's prize-winning zucchini. For my mother, it was a fresh start, a safe place to raise her children. For the first few weeks, the house was just a house. It was larger than any we'd lived in before, and the emptiness of the rooms was a novelty. Lily and I would chase each other through the barren halls, our laughter echoing strangely as if the sound were being swallowed by the walls. My mother worked long hours, and often after school, it was just the two of us until the sun went down. That's when the atmosphere would shift. The daytime charm would evaporate, replaced by a watchful silence. The house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt occupied. It started with sounds, not the dramatic groans and shrieks of horror movies, but subtle, insidious noises. A faint creak on the staircase when both Lily and I were sitting on the living room floor. The soft, distinct sound of a drawer being opened and closed in the kitchen above us when we were playing in the basement. I'd freeze, my hand mid-air, clutching a toy soldier, and listen. Lily would look up at me, her big blue eyes wide. "What was that, Alex?" "The house," I'd say, repeating my mother's mantra. "It's just an old house. It settles." My mother, bless her, always had an explanation. "Pipes expanding," she'd say about the knocking in the walls. "Wind in the attic," for the dragging sounds above our ceiling. She was a fortress of rationality, a single parent building a wall of normalcy against the encroaching weirdness. But sometimes I'd catch her pausing while washing dishes, her head tilted, listening. A faint line would appear between her eyebrows. She heard it too. She just refused to acknowledge it. The first real incident, the one that shattered the illusion of normalcy, happened on a night in late October. The air had turned crisp, and the wind had a new, whispering voice. I was lying in bed, unable to sleep. Lily was out cold in her bed across the room, her breathing a soft, rhythmic sound. A full moon hung in the sky, its cold light slicing through the slats of the blinds, painting prison bar shadows on the floor. My gaze wandered the room, tracing the familiar shapes of the dresser, the desk, the large wooden toy chest at the foot of my bed. The chest was an antique, a heavy oak thing with wrought iron hardware that my mother had found at a flea market. I hated it. The latch was stiff, and the lid always fell with a loud final-sounding thud. That night, I noticed a discrepancy in the pattern of light and shadow. In the far corner, near the toy chest, was a patch of darkness that was too deep, too solid. It was man-shaped, a tall, slender silhouette that stood motionless. While the shadows of the tree branches outside danced and swayed in the wind, this one remained perfectly, unnaturally still. My breath hitched. I tried to logic my way out of the fear. It's just your robe hanging on the hook. It's a pile of Lily's stuffed animals. But my robe was on the back of the door, and Lily's toys were neatly put away. My heart began to hammer against my sternum, a frantic bird in a bone cage. The longer I stared, the more defined it became. It wasn't just an absence of light. It was a presence, a concentration of darkness. Terrified, I did the only thing I could think of. I squeezed my eyes shut, burying my face in the pillow. It's not there. It's not there. When you open your eyes, it will be gone. I counted to 10, each number a monumental effort. I slowly, painfully opened one eye. The shadow was gone. A wave of relief, so potent it made me dizzy, washed over me. But it was short-lived. It was replaced by an invasive, deep-seated cold that had nothing to do with the temperature of the room. It was an internal chill, as if an ice-cold needle had been inserted into my spine, spreading a frost through my veins. I pulled the blankets up to my chin, but the cold was coming from inside me. I lay there, shivering uncontrollably, until the first gray light of dawn crept into the room. Exhausted, I finally drifted into a fitful sleep. I was woken what felt like minutes later by Lily poking my arm. "Alex, wake up!" I groaned, rolling over. And then I saw it. The toy chest. The lid was wide open, gaping like a dark mouth. I always, without fail, closed that lid. The sound of it slamming shut drove my mother crazy, and I was paranoid about incurring her wrath. "Did you open that?" I asked Lily, my voice raspy with fear. She shook her head, her pigtails swinging. "No. It was open when I woke up. I swung my legs out of bed, my feet cold on the floorboards. I approached the chest with a sense of dread. As I got closer, I saw them. Fresh, jagged scratches around the metal latch. They were white and raw against the dark, aged wood, deep gouges that looked like they'd been made by something strong and desperate. They hadn't been there the night before. I reached out a trembling hand to touch them, and a jolt, like a static shock, ran up my arm. I snatched my hand back. The wood around the scratches was ice cold. A tense quiet settled over the house for a couple of weeks, but it was the silence of a held breath. Then, one Saturday morning over pancakes, Lily dropped a bombshell with the casualness of a weather report. "I don't like the man in my closet," she said, syrup dripping from her fork. My mother froze, her coffee mug halfway to her lips. "What man, sweetie?" Her voice was carefully neutral. "The man who stands in there at night," Lily elaborated, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "He whispers things." The bite of pancake I just swallowed turned to lead in my stomach. I stared at my sister. "What does he whisper?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper itself. Lily scrunched up her nose and thought. "I don't know the words. It's like the wind talking, but it's not nice wind." My mother forced a laugh, but it was a thin, brittle sound. "Oh, honey, that's just your imagination. You probably had a dream. This old house makes all sorts of noises." She reached over and tousled Lily's hair. "There's no man in the closet." But Lily was insistent. Her lower lip trembled. "There is. He's tall, and he smells like dirt." The specificity of that detail, the smell of dirt, sent a fresh wave of terror through me. Children lie, but they don't invent details like that. Not so convincingly. That evening, my mother's routine changed. Her usual quick bedtime prayer with Lily became a long, fervent plea, her voice low and urgent. She held Lily's small hands tightly in her own. I stood in the doorway, watching. I noticed that throughout the entire prayer, my mother never once glanced at the closet door. She didn't open it to reassure Lily it was empty. She didn't even look at it. It was as if by acknowledging its existence, she might give power to whatever Lily thought was inside. Her denial was a shield, but it was a transparent one, and I could see the fear right through it. The whispers started for me that same night. I was teetering on the edge of sleep when I heard it. A low, sibilant hiss coming from the direction of my own closet. It wasn't a single voice, but a cacophony of muted whispers, overlapping and tangled, like a crowd of people talking behind a thick curtain. I couldn't make out any words, just the faint, rasping texture of the sound. It was the audio equivalent of something crawling on your skin. I pulled the blanket over my head, creating a suffocating but safe cocoon, and prayed for sleep to take me. The incident with the scratching was the point of no return. It was the thing that moved the phenomenon from the realm of sounds and shadows into the physical world. I was ripped from a deep sleep by a slow, dragging scrape. It was a hideously familiar sound. The sound of a chair being pushed across a wooden floor, but there was no chair. The sound was coming from the corner of the room, near the same spot where I had seen the shadow. My body went rigid. I lay perfectly still, barely breathing, every sense screaming. The scraping started again. It was slow, deliberate. Grap, pause, grap. It was moving. It was coming from the corner, heading diagonally across the room, towards my bed. The moonlight was bright enough that I could see the floorboards. There was nothing there, but the sound was undeniable, a physical vibration in the air. Scrap, pause. It was at the foot of my bed now. I could feel a drop in temperature, a cold spot enveloping my feet. Then it stopped, right beside my bed. The silence that followed was somehow louder and more terrifying than the sound itself. I could feel a presence there, a mere foot away from my face, leaning over me. I could smell it now, a faint, damp odor of wet earth and decay, just as Lily had described. I squeezed my eyes shut, my fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I prayed to a God I wasn't sure I believed in. I don't know how long I lay there trapped between terror and unconsciousness, but I eventually passed out from sheer exhaustion. The morning sun felt like a lie. I woke up aching, my head pounding. The memory of the night flooded back, and my eyes snapped to the floor beside my bed. And there they were, 3 long, parallel scratches gouged into the wooden floorboards. They were deep, vicious marks, as if made by something with incredible strength and sharp claws. The wood within the grooves was splintered and fresh, pale yellow against the dark stain. They hadn't been there yesterday. I knew it with absolute certainty. "Mom!" I screamed, my voice cracking. "Mom! Come here!" She rushed in, her face etched with concern that quickly morphed into anger when she saw me pointing at the floor. "Alexander James! What in God's name did you do?" Her voice was shrill. "I didn't do it. It was there when I woke up. It was the scratching. Don't you lie to me!" She yelled, her fear manifesting as rage. "Were you playing with a knife? Dragging a metal toy? This floor is original. Do you know how much it would cost to fix this?" She knelt down, running her fingers over the grooves. A strange look crossed her face, a flicker of confusion, of dread, but she quickly suppressed it. "You are grounded. No TV for a month. And if I ever see you damaging this house again," she stormed out, leaving me alone with the evidence. Her refusal to see the truth was more frightening than the scratches themselves. I was alone in this. After that, the house shed all pretense. The whispers from the closets became a nightly occurrence, a constant, rasping soundtrack to our fear. Lily's nightmares intensified. She would wake up several times a week, screaming, pointing a trembling finger into the darkest corner of our room. "He's there! He's there, Alex!" The man with the quiet mouth. I never saw what she saw, but I didn't need to. The primal terror on her face was proof enough. The air in our room grew thick and heavy, difficult to breathe. A constant, prickling sensation of being watched made it impossible to relax. My mother started looking gaunt, with dark circles permanently etched under her eyes. She burned through candles and incense, filling the house with the smell of sandalwood and lavender in a futile attempt to mask the scent of old dirt. The worst night of my life happened in the deep freeze of January. A blizzard had silenced the world outside, blanketing everything in a profound, eerie quiet. I woke up abruptly, my body jolted awake by some subconscious alarm. The first thing I registered was the cold. The second was the open door, our bedroom door, which we always kept closed and, on my insistence, locked with a flimsy hook-and-eye latch, was standing wide open. The hook was bent and twisted, as if yanked apart by immense force. The nightlight in the hallway, our beacon of safety, was dead. The hallway beyond was a tunnel of absolute blackness, a void. Then a sound, a heavy, deliberate footstep on the hall runner. Creak. The sound of weight on an old floorboard. My blood turned to ice. Another step. Creak. It was coming closer. I wanted to scream, to wake Lily, to run, but I was utterly paralyzed. All I could do was watch the doorway. The footsteps stopped right outside our room. The blackness in the hallway seemed to coalesce, to thicken. A shape began to form in the doorway, a silhouette of a man, tall and impossibly thin, blocking out what little ambient light there was. It didn't step into the room. It leaned in, its head a featureless obsidian oval, tilted as if surveying us. I could feel its gaze sweep over me, a physical sensation like being touched by frozen cobwebs. I did the only thing I could. I slammed my eyes shut, playing possum. I prayed like I had never prayed before. I could feel the cold radiating from it, smell the dank, grave-like odor filling the room. Time lost all meaning. I might have lain there for seconds or for hours. When I finally gathered the courage to open my eyes, the doorway was empty. The door was closed. The hall light was back on. The only evidence was the bent latch and the lingering frigid temperature in the room. And the smell of cold, turned earth stayed with me for days. The event that finally broke my mother's denial was mundane, which made it all the more terrifying. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I came home from school alone. Lily was at a friend's house. The house was silent, but it was the watchful, hungry silence I had grown to dread. As I walked up the stairs to drop off my backpack, a loud, explosive slam echoed from our bedroom. I froze, my heart in my throat. Every instinct told me to run, but a morbid, terrified curiosity pulled me forward. I pushed the bedroom door open. The room was empty. But the scene was one of violent chaos. The heavy lid of the toy chest was slammed shut, and every single toy, book, and game that had been inside was now scattered across the floor, thrown with such force that some of Lily's plastic dolls had cracked against the far wall. This was no accident. This was rage. When my mother came home, I didn't say a word. I just led her upstairs and showed her the room. Her face lost all its color. She stood in the doorway, her hand flying to her mouth. She looked from the shattered dolls to the scratched floor to my terrified face. She opened her mouth, and I waited for the anger, the accusation, but it didn't come. Instead, her shoulders slumped in defeat. The fortress of rationality had finally crumbled. We must have had a break-in," she stammered, but her voice lacked all conviction. It was her last, feeble grasp at normality. We both knew no burglar would do this. "I'll call the police." She never did. Things moved quickly after that. She started sleeping in our room with us. She had a priest come to bless the house, his Latin prayers sounding thin and powerless against the ancient silence of the place. We moved out within the month, using a sudden job opportunity as an excuse. The relief of leaving that house was a physical sensation, like stepping out of a crushing pressure chamber. The truth came out years later, during a Thanksgiving visit home from college. We were sipping wine, and the conversation turned to old times. There was a long pause. Then, my mother looked at me, her eyes full of old, weathered fear. "You know," she said softly, "I never told you this. I didn't want to scare you more than you already were. But in that house on Hemlock Street, I saw it too." She took a shaky breath. "I'd wake up in the middle of the night and there would be a shadow standing in my doorway, just a dark shape of a man. It never came in. It just watched. I used to tell myself it was the previous owner, that he was just checking on his old house. But I never believed it. I think there was something in that house that was very, very old and very angry." Her confession was the final, terrifying piece of the puzzle. It confirmed everything. It meant our childhood nightmare was real. I'm a grown man now. I live in a modern high-rise apartment on the 15th floor. There are no attics, no basements, no hidden closets. The floors are concrete. I have made a life for myself in the light and the noise of the city. I have rationalized, therapized, and tried to bury those memories deep. But the past is never truly buried. It has a way of scratching its way to the surface. Sometimes, in the absolute dead of night, when the city is unusually quiet, I'll hear it. A faint, dry, scraping sound. It's not the radiator. It's not the wind. It's a sound I know intimately. It's the sound of fingernails on wood. And in that moment, the man I am disappears. And I am 9 years old again, paralyzed in my bed, knowing with a cold, absolute certainty that it was never just the house. It was never our imagination. Some stains are so deep, they become a part of you. It followed us out. It's a reminder that the things that watch from the darkness have a long, long memory, and they never really let go.